Good afternoon, everybody. I am Kat with Peaceful Presence Divorce Coaching, and welcome to the fourth event in my Lunch and Learn series. Navigating a high conflict divorce takes a village, and so I'm really glad that you're here. Throughout this series, you're going to hear from experts who have generously donated their time and wisdom to help us rebuild, heal, and navigate the journey of divorce and family court. If you have any questions throughout today, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and our wonderful moderator, Shruti, will be keeping an eye on the chat, and she'll make sure your questions are shared with us during the Q&A portion toward the end. Just a quick reminder that today's session is being recorded for those who couldn't make it live today. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I am thrilled to introduce our guest speaker today, Connie Howard of What If Wealth. Connie is the founder of What If Wealth, and she is a CDFA-trained financial analyst and specializes in supporting women in transition, especially after divorce and widowhood. So, Connie, thank you so much for being here today. Divorce-related financial decisions is a topic that touches everyone who goes through divorce, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what phase you're in. And talking to you earlier this week got me so excited because you have so many straightforward and helpful tools that provide clarity. And I know are going to help this community feel empowered around money. So let's go ahead and get started. I would love for you to start by telling us a bit about what you do and the journey that led you to where you are today.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Kat. Super nice introduction, which I appreciate. And I'm very pleased and honored to be here. So thank you for having me. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So I'll do a very quick introduction, which is just to say that I spent decades in the business world. And during that time, I personally built hundreds of financial models. Everything from projecting sales, staffing, cash flow, product usage. And along the way, I started to notice that while no business makes a financial decision without crunching the numbers, there is not a comparable some sort of similar function for consumers. And arguably, we make much weightier decisions when we're making a decision to purchase a house or retire or, take money, pay down debt or make investments. Those are big decisions for any individual consumer. And yet we have no true visibility to what can happen down the road. So it's sort of shocking. It's kind of shocking. So I've watched a lot of smart, capable people, including myself, make some, sort of financial mistakes and some painful ones because we made decisions with what we knew in the moment and didn't have the view.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It's just there's no good tools out there. So I built my own What If Wealth. And as you said, we help people to understand the downstream effects of their financial decisions today. So what happens if they take path A versus path B? So that's what we do. And people find it incredibly helpful. And many, many people have never seen their finances presented in this way.
It's like a financial crystal ball. It's fabulous.
It kind of is. And it's really, it's very, eye-opening when somebody sees it for the first time. And we lay it out side by side. If you decide to do this, this is what's likely going to happen. If you decide to do this, this is what's likely going to happen. And sometimes those paths are more divergent than you would think. So it sort of erases the uncertainty and fear from making those big financial decisions. And as you mentioned, I work a lot with women in transition or people in transition because all of those transitions, divorce, widowhood, retirement, come with big financial, you can kind of be clicking along and then suddenly you're at a financial crossroads or a financial cliff.
Yes.
I guess I could have had this up. Anyway, there's about me. So anything else before I jump in, Kat?
No. Okay. I thank you for giving us that background. That's really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of a maybe unusual entry point to a presentation, and that is Detroit in 1973. And so I'm in my mid-60s, anybody in their mid-60s will remember the oil embargo. It hit this country like a freight train. People that are younger may have heard of it, but it was really it rocked the country. Gas lines stretched for blocks, factories shut down, there were no jobs. And as I said, I grew up in Detroit, and the auto industry basically disappeared overnight. And I remember so clearly the day that my dad walked in the back door to the kitchen and said, I've been laid off. And he was it was an engineer at Chrysler. He was sole breadwinner, 7 kids in the family. And that moment really shaped how I think about money to this day. And what my dad did, there were no jobs. There were simply no jobs. And we lived in a beautiful old Tudor neighborhood. By the way, my parents bought their house, as my parents here down in the corner, in 1967 for $33,000, just as a just as a moment to think about. Anyway, my dad, all the houses were built in the 40s, 30s and 40s. They all had old brass sprinkler systems, and they had all failed. And my dad could fix anything. He, a couple days after he was laid off, made up flyers, went up and down the blocks to volunteer or to, offer his services to fix the sprinklers. And basically every house in the neighborhood hired him. And he had a very interesting experience. Over and over again, the women of the house, which were, of course, housewives at the time, he would be in the yard working on the sprinkler system, and they would come out to talk to him. And over again, unprompted, they would say some version of the same thing, which is, my husband's going to pay you. I don't really know where our money is. I don't know how much money we have. I'm kept on a strict budget. My dad was somebody you could really talk to, and I think that they needed somebody to talk to. And he could see how paralyzing it was for women to be sort of beholden to their husbands inside their own marriages.
Yeah.
And he didn't want that to happen to his daughters. So he came home and he said to his 5 daughters, I couldn't find a picture of us in the 70s, but here we are in the 2000s. He said, you girls know where the money is. And now notice he didn't say become a financial expert. He didn't say optimize your portfolio. He just said know where the money is. And that had a massive, massive effect on me and my sisters.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I do what I do today is because that was 53 years ago. That was from 1973 to 2026. So 53 years later, and I have to say that many women are still asking the same question, where is my money? And it's astonishing that that still happens, but I can tell you, none of my friends' dads said that to them all those years ago. And I think it is still very endemic in where we are in the country.
Absolutely. So many of my clients will come to me and say, I have no idea what our finances look like.
I mean, and yet we're also working now, by the way,
Yes.
So we are contributing much more so than financially. There was contribution, no doubt about it, but financially contributing. And there's still this mystery and protection around the finances.
Yep.
So I just wanted to say, just for context, if anybody is, listening to this and maybe feeling, sort of feeling some emotion around not having access to this, I have been the primary breadwinner for 42 years in my own household. My husband was a stay-at-home dad and a chef. Every single time we sat down with a banker, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, yesterday, the banker, the mortgage broker, the financial professional, guess who they speak to? My husband. My husband.
Yeah.
And it's not because he's controlling the money or because he's the decision maker. I truly believe that there is a script. It's a default script that has been in place. And women are, it's changing. There's some good news here that it's changing. But maybe young women that are 10 or 15 years old now, but those of us that are 50s, 60s, 40s, even in our 30s, it didn't exist. And I just want to say one more thing. Again, this sort of irritates me, but as a primary breadwinner, every single time we sign our taxes, guess whose name is first on our taxes? My husband's.
Yes, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. So if you're feeling any emotion around this in the audience, or if you're feeling, that you've somehow done something wrong, you haven't. It is a script. It is endemic, and and being here today actually is a good start. Or I'm sure you're in the process, but it's a good start.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Connie.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's again, as I've said to you offline, Kat, I really researched. I paid attention to my finances. I researched. I educated myself, and I've still made a lot of financial mistakes. That could be a good lunch and learn at some point.
Yeah. What not to do. Always.
share. Right. So anyway, so that I just wanted to give you the background and sort of acknowledge that most women don't have the tools, and they weren't given the tools, and people didn't talk about it. So, it's not unusual to understand where we are. Okay, so the world of finances can feel huge and overwhelming. So today we're going to start with 3 simple concepts. And we're just going to start with 3 simple concepts. And those concepts are, number 1, know where the money is. Number 2, there are 2 numbers that matter, and that's it. And number 3, start asking the what-if questions. So to look at number 1, know where the money is. And this is it's kind of a safe way to begin. You can do this privately, you can do this slowly, you can take your time, but it is very important that you actually get your arms around where the money is, and of course, by extension, what the money is, how much it is. So I find it helpful in working with clients to think about it like this. There are known accounts, there are unknown accounts, and then there are suspected accounts. So I'll just step through those kind of slowly. The known accounts are accounts that you can see. It's income that you know exists. It's bills that you pay personally. It's your mortgage. It's your credit card bills. It's your checking account. You know those, and we have a link here, and I'll show you the worksheet in a moment. Unknown accounts are the accounts that you've heard of but you've never seen. So you know that perhaps your spouse has retirement plans in their name. There's maybe business interests, there's stock options, there's bonuses, perhaps there's investment accounts. You know they're out there, but you don't have access to them. And then there's also what I call suspected. And those are just this feeling that you think there's more. Maybe you kind of have a sense of, I don't know how we're living on what my spouse says that we make. Money seems to disappear. So it's sort of getting your arms around those items. So again, you don't need to solve everything today. You just need to stop being in the dark about it. Get your arms around it. And the way to do that is to separate the thought of visibility from access, because sometimes access can feel confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the situation that you're in, but it can feel confrontational. So this is an important distinction. We're talking about here figuring out where the money is, not necessarily getting access to it. It's getting the list together. So some examples of visibility are old tax returns, past bank statements, credit reports, and start with yours first. Just get in there and get your credit report, and you can see what's out there. You will probably be very surprised on what is out there on your credit report that maybe you didn't know about. Mortgage or deed records, employee benefit summaries, emails, bank portals. Like, there's a way that you can start here and make your way through this. And we have a link to a worksheet here that I'm just going to pull up.
And we're going to drop that link in the chat as well for anybody who would like that. Perfect.
Okay. Can you see that, Kat?
The
no.
link is in the chat. Yep, that made it.
The worksheet that opened up, you're probably okay. I might not switch that right mid presentation, because sometimes it's kind of tricky, but I can tell you, let me tell you what the link does. It's a link to a worksheet that has, again, you'll separate it by your known accounts, your unknown, and your suspected, and you'll put in your liabilities and your assets. So a checking account is an asset. A credit card debt is a liability. And just put those numbers in where you can find them. And that's a way to get started. And once you get started and let yourself work through it, and let your, sort of the back of your mind work through it, you will find that you probably know more than you think you know. And it's a very grounding exercise to get your arms around that.
Yeah. I also provide all of my private coaching clients with literally a list of what to get before you go. Copies of the front and back, all credit cards, like little things like that. It's just helpful to have that list, and it's things that you may not even think of, right?
Okay, wonderful. That's good, Kat. Nice. Okay, so a lot of times I do hear from my clients that their ex is controlling the money. And again, this is not, your goal isn't to wrestle away control here. It's to get started. And so you can, this is about preparing, and you can work with, as you know, you're allowed to ask for documentation through the proper channels. You're allowed to gather that information before making commitments. And you're allowed to make decisions that support your long-term security, not, you're allowed to do that.
Well,
and
Connie, who are the proper channels? When you say ask for documentation through the proper channels, who's the proper channel?
The proper channel. Okay, so that is a great question. And probably, Kat, a lot of your clients are already, if they're working with you, they're already putting together a team, because unfortunately divorce does take a team. And we put together a list here of the professionals, and this can be a little bit overwhelming. So this link is also going to be shared in the chat, and it's in our sort of wrap-up kit that we send. But there's lots of professionals here, and the professionals on your team that can really help with the finances are the your tax attorney, your CDFA if you're working with a certified divorce financial planner. You could perhaps get a forensic accountant. If you feel like things are really hidden, a forensic accountant can be a great investment, because again, I know people spend a lot during divorce, but they can uncover money that could end up being very beneficial for you.
It was key in my divorce. And even, that's about interpreting the numbers too, right? Because especially in individually owned businesses, the numbers are there, but how they're interpreted, it can vary, differently based on who wants to interpret the numbers a certain way. So
right, couldn't have said that better. That's exactly right. And then we have some other sort of lists here, but again, I won't go through this in great detail.
This is so helpful.
Yeah, you got to get your teams.
For those watching, definitely take a screenshot.
Yeah. Okay. So that is that's sort of step one. Know where the numbers are, and that actually is the hard part. Even if you're uncomfortable, you get your arms around that and you stop guessing. And these next two parts get easier. And I hear again and again from my clients that they feel a tremendous amount of ownership when they move into the second two phases. And it can actually become downright enjoyable. So let's move to that. So we're going to talk about the two numbers. That's it. There are two numbers that are important. And usually when I start talking about numbers, people kind of brace themselves for spreadsheets and acronyms and feelings of being behind. And we're not going to do that here. We're going to talk about the two most important financial measures for consumers. And those two measures are number one is cash flow. And cash flow is the money that is coming in each month, the money that is going out, and whether there's anything left over at the end of the month. So it is your income minus your expenses equals cash flow. And it really tells the story of whether your income can support your lifestyle today and going forward. And here's where I start to talk about one of the things that we do at What If Wealth is everything that we present is in a 10-year horizon. So we're not just looking at today or the next 18 or 24 months, we're looking 10 years down the road. And what I find actually is that most women have a very, very good idea of their monthly cash flow. They know what their income is. They know what their expenses are. But where the systems can fall down is in providing an understanding of your cash flow over time. So it's not just right now, but it is, again, over the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years. And that's where the risks lie and that's where the opportunities lie. So getting your arms around that is highly important. Okay, so very practical piece of advice here is to simply use ChatGPT. Some people are afraid of it. I'm going to say don't be afraid of this tool. Not that there's not macro things about AI that we should all have concerns about, but at a micro level, you and your finances, it is an absolutely great tool. You don't need to be good with technology. You don't need to know everything. You just need to get started. So even if it feels a little intimidating, open it up and get started. I'm going to provide a prompt for you here.
Amazing.
Yeah. By the way, you just think of it as a judgment-free assistant. Kat, do you use chat?
Daily, multiple times a day.
All right, so we can attest.
Yeah.
It's almost too friendly. It will almost like, my chat says to me all the time, that's a great idea. And I'm like, oh, was that a great idea? It can flatter, so be careful. But in terms of this, this question, what is my cash flow? That's a number. That's a number that may not be readily. If you don't happen to have Excel skills, or Excel, there's no other real tool that you can use readily, and chat is so ready. So I'm going to show you here. Here is a prompt, and you can take a screenshot, and this is also in the follow-up kit that we're providing. And I'm just going to read this through. Not that you can't all read, but I want to estimate my cash flow over the next 10 years. This is highly important. Please help me create a simple, high-level projection, not a detailed budget. I'm 56 years old. And then we go into the financials. My monthly income is X, and I expect it to grow about 3% a year, which, by the way, for the audience here, that is basically cost of living adjustments. So almost all income you can depend on that.
Perfect.
My principal and interest mortgage payment is $1,200, and it will not increase. Mortgages don't increase. My remaining monthly expenses are $2,400. I'm planning on inflation of 3%, and I pay an additional housing expense, property taxes, and insurance of about $2,800 a year. Please create a simple 10-year table showing the year, age, annual income and expenses, and cumulative. So again, I put that exact prompt into chat.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
It's
and
so simple.
It's so simple. It is so simple. And this is what I got back. This is exactly what came back from chat. Okay, here's your cash flow using your updated numbers. This is meant for orientation. It's not absolute precise. And then it sort of parroted back what I said. But what you'll find with chat is it adds. It's helpful. So here are several things that it added. 2,800. So this was all correct and exactly what I had put in. Additional annual expenses, 2,800 assumed flat. So I didn't tell it that those expenses should be.
Those are variable.
Those are variable, so they should be inflated.
Yeah.
And then, here's interesting. No investment returns assumed on the surplus. That's interesting. So then what came back next from chat is this very simple table. You can see here, there's year, age, income, expense, annual surplus, and then we have a cumulative surplus. So what strikes me right away about this is, okay, $8,000 a year, that's like $600 a month, $600 or $700 a month. It's very easy to let $600 or $700 a month slip away. But if you suddenly know that at the end of 3 years, you're going to have $26,000, that's a more real number. You can do something with that. And at the end of 10 years, you're going to have $112,000. That might become more interesting and motivating to you.
And that's money that's not even being put to work. That's simply cash value. So if you're working with an investor, I'm putting this in a college fund or a high yield savings or investing into the market, whatever it is, that's just simply cash value. So
you're my perfect setup, Kat. Thank you. So what happens next? What happens next is you will start to see things immediately. You will immediately start to see things. You'll begin to picture your cash flow and add more specifics. So here's a great example. Oh, wait a second. My mortgage is going to be paid off in 2032. Oh, wait, my spousal support ends in 2030. I got to be careful about that. My taxes and insurance aren't flat. They will grow. And calendar year is more useful than I want to see the calendar year. So you simply add those prompts back into chat and ask for an update. It is that simple. So here's a copy of the prompts that I created.
Yep.
Those comments, copy, paste, just type it into chat. And then chat immediately came back with, okay, here's some changes. And so first of all, I do like that it noted here that you're going to be 62 in 2032. So it's reminding you up here, you can see it's saying, oh, there's no Social Security. So that's helpful.
Yep.
And then you can see here is where that spousal support goes away.
Yep.
Here is where the mortgage goes away. So suddenly this number down here, these numbers at the top are still the same, but when you have those two important changes, the net effect was positive. So it's suddenly higher. So then to your, and then it made the change the year instead of year. I want to actually see the actual year instead of the count so I can really see what's happening.
Yep.
And then please show my, wait a second, that cash isn't just going to sit there. I'm going to do something with it. Please show me my surplus cash flow invested at a 5% return.
Where does that 5% come from, Connie? Is that the normal high yield savings?
That's a little higher than a high yield savings. It is, okay. It is a, well, actually high yield is right now is pretty, you know, the numbers are good, but you might not be able to depend on that over 10 years.
Yep.
5% is a very solid, investment return that almost all planners use, because actually if you're in the market at all, you know, the market the last couple of years has been 8, 9, 10, 11%. So the numbers can be much bigger, but that's going to be coupled with a downturn that is absolutely coming at some point that might wipe out, you know, 20%, and then you have to wait for it to come back up. So 5% is a
no panic selling, no panic divesting.
No panic selling, hold tight, hold tight. Another mistake I've made. Okay, so here you can see again, these numbers are start the same, but then with that 5%, you're suddenly looking at $176,000 over 10 years that you could have let slip through your fingers because you didn't have a sense of what was possible for you to control with your cash flow.
And the numbers that you used for this calculation are modest. I mean, they're very reasonable.
I picked them up from across several different clients. They're very real. So I just want to stress again how much of life can kind of, and finances can drift by you just by simply not having a good feel of the future. And here, ChatGPT can give you an absolute feel of the future. Very empowering.
It's like a virtual finance planner.
Right. It's really good. And it's good at this stuff. There's some places in a bit that I'll mention you need to use a little bit more caution, but upfront, your net worth and your cash flow, absolutely. So number 2 of the two numbers, the first one is cash flow, the second one is net worth. And I think I won't go into this in great detail, but it's the same exact, well, net worth, just to give you the definition here, it's basically everything that you own minus everything that you owe. So it sort of shows what you've built over time. So your assets, your house, investments, you know, any property that you have, et cetera, and your liabilities, your car payment, your mortgage, et cetera. So assets minus liabilities. You can do exactly the same prompt. Again, you can take a screenshot here, or it's in our follow-up kit. But it's the same exact theory. This is how old I am. This is what I have. Here's what my debt is. Here's my interest rates that I'm paying. Please create a simple 10-year snapshot showing me this information. Once again, went right into chat. It said, okay, your net worth right now is $397,000 and it's going to grow to $750,000 over the next 10 years. I do this for many, many women. This is a gobsmack moment for them because most of them do not have visibility to what happens in their finances if they simply are staying the course. Pay down that mortgage, pay down that debt, let your house increase in value. So here is what it came back with. Again, there's this, your assets, your liabilities, and then notice it learned. It didn't give me years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chat will learn and get to know you.
Yep.
And then here's your net worth. And I could see here a simple thing might be, oh, let me separate out my investments from my home equity. Let me see how those two flow separately. Put that chat in, and this comes back. There's your property value growing and your investments growing at that 5%.
Connie, this is fabulous.
Isn't this so good? It's just, thank you for saying that, but it's so good. And
I'm going to be doing this today. I'm going to be in ChatGPT doing these prompts.
Yes, thank you. And then I can promise you, because I've seen it over and over again, you will begin to own it. As things change, you get a raise, you decide you're going to do something different with your house, whatever, you can put those details back into chat and get this information back. Okay, I want to say something here. And what if the news isn't what you were hoping? And that does happen, especially with people in transition. It absolutely does. And I say this to clients every day. It's better to know. It is simply better to know. If you don't know, unfortunately, in finances, things do not stay neutral. They can drift quietly over time, and almost always the drift is not to your benefit.
Yeah.
Higher interest rates can sneak in, late fees, deferred maintenance on your house, investment management fees, investment losses. If you're not paying it, I've never seen money get better if you're not paying attention, with the exception of putting money in investments, of course. But it's better to know. And then every decision that you make from this point forward can support your financial future. So it's better to step up. And I want to say actually one more thing here. When I think about it, and when my clients ask me, what does it take to actually improve a financial situation? It really comes down to three things. It's not financial perfection. It's not some big windfall. It is options, assets, and time. And even if you have only, if you have only one of these, you can improve your financial situation. And if you have,
I mean, look at the ChatGPT table you gave us.
right, exactly. If you have, so options are, you can decide what you want to do with your money and with your life. Assets are your money, your investments, your home. You look at my dad. He was scrappy and went out and supported his family for 2 years fixing sprinklers. So assets can be you, and then time. If you have time and you start today, you will absolutely get back on track financially. Okay, so if I just can say, if there's only one thing to take away from today, is know your cash flow and your net worth. And if you do this, you will put yourself in the 90th percentile of women and probably people in this country. Based on multiple surveys and industry insights, fewer than 10% of women have a clear 10-year cash flow and net worth projection that's trackable in any kind of a structured way. And I know from myself and from being in business all these years, what gets measured gets paid attention to and gets done. So if you've got that in mind, you are so much more likely to own it and adhere to it than if it's, again, just numbers out in the ether. So,
and you made that so easy for us already today. So thank you for that.
Oh, yes, you're welcome. It's not as hard as it thinks, and as you might think. And then I just want to say, sort of as a caution here, without these two numbers, you still have to make the decisions, and you will make the decisions, but it will be made on guesswork, and that can lead to anxiety and fear. And so, get rid of those emotions that are so kind of toxic within our financial, world, and start having that ownership. Okay, so I wanted to just mention, I don't know how many people have heard of a sober companion. We talked about this a couple of days ago, Kat, but it's something that has sort of come across my radar, which is it's a service that's being offered for people that are trying to be sober. And if they have to travel, or if they're out of their element, if they go to an airport or hotels, they bring a sober companion along with them, and it keeps them safe and keeps them sort of protected. And it's a really wonderful benefit. And so I wanted to offer to your audience today a cash flow companion call. This is one of my longtime clients, and I've helped her with many, many different things, including finance, family, big real estate investments that they had, et cetera. And we'll put a link in the chat. But if you want to schedule a no charge call with me, and I will walk you through how to do the chat, make sure that the prompts that you're putting in, and then also how to interpret results. I'm very, very happy to do that.
Thank you, Connie. What a generous offer. I will absolutely be scheduling one. I mean, numbers are not my forte. I mean, I certainly, through the divorce process, learned it was a crash course, and it would have been so much less stressful to have somebody that I knew was neutral by my side educating me about this throughout the process. That would have been a huge help.
Well, thank you. And I think it would be. And so I want to say something. This woman, her name is Willa, and she is my piano teacher. That's how I came across her. She's kind of like you, Kat. She's very, very creative. She is that side of the brain, right? She's incredibly creative, yet she she became widowed unexpectedly. She had some big financial things that were thrust upon her, and she was just not skilled in it. The same way now I'm a little better because I take a piano lessons from her, but I was not a musician, right? So we all have our skills. And so I appreciate what you said, that was not your skill. You have other wonderful skills, and it's not necessarily the hard numbers.
Yeah, I stay in my lane. I know when I'm out of my lane.
That's right, yeah. Okay, so then I want to just, up to now we've been talking about focusing on seeing the numbers, know where they are, get your cash flow and your net worth. And then the final sort of leg of the stool here is about experimenting with them kind of safely. And this is where curiosity can come into play. And this is the what if. So ask the what if questions. And I've got a couple of them here. So what if questions are not, we're not making dead-on projections, but it is the absolute fact of finances that there's rarely one right answer. There's usually trade-offs. There's usually puts and takes on each side. There's always an emotional component to it. Let's say if you're trying to decide whether you want to keep your house or sell your house, there might be a math-based answer and there might be an emotionally based answer. But this suggests that you need to look at what those answers are. Look at what those paths are and get educated.
That's probably one of the number one questions my clients face. I really want to stay in the house for the kids. There's going to be 2 homes, but I want to stay in the house so that the kids can still have, this safe environment, but I'm not sure if I can afford it. Like, am I going to be able to actually afford to buy him out? Am I going to be able to afford the upkeep of the property? Am I going to be able to afford the mortgage payment? What does this look like? Right. So that's a really relevant question.
Well, that's exactly right. It's the number one what if calculation I do for divorcing clients because it's such an emotional decision. A lot of times people feel that they're being rushed into it. They have to make the decision. They're already sort of, traumatized. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of, things going on emotionally. And but the thing about financial decisions, they have very, very, very long legs. Very long legs. You can make a decision today that is still with you 10, 15, 20 years from now. Yeah. So anyway, it's a highly important. So here's some good examples. We have a lot of different what ifs that we do, but what if we keep the house after divorce is a big one. And I'm just going to walk you through here another, sort of common one, which is, what if I choose monthly support versus a lump sum? This is a, kind of a fairly standard offer that's on the table during divorce. So here's option one, $400,000 upfront lump sum versus monthly support at $4,500 a month for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And on paper, both of these can work. They absolutely can work. But this is where a little bit more sophisticated modeling can come in. So let me just kind of go through some of the pros and cons here. So let's take that upfront payment. Mm-hmm. Pros: immediate access and ongoing flexibility. You can invest that money for potential growth. It's useful for very large or unexpected expenses. And the pros, you have full control over. You get that money, that's your money. Mm-hmm. Story. So there's some real benefits there. The cons are you have exposure to market timing and risk. There's tax implications on the investment growth, which are not countered by spousal support. It requires sort of ongoing management and discipline. You have to be the right person not to just spend through that money and have it stay with you over time, mm-hmm. because you have the risk of spending it down too quickly. So, and then looking at the same pros and cons on the other side, the pros for monthly support: predictable, steady income, easy to match the monthly expenses, less investment timing and risk. And then the cons: no inflation protection. If you're getting $4,500 a month in 2026, And that that $4,500 a month in 2033 does not buy the same amount. So there's real inflation risk in there.
Yeah.
And the biggest one is its dependence on payment reliability. This requires you to really have a confidence level that that money will come in every month for the next 8 years. And as we all know, that can be, just depending on the circumstances, that can be a little risky.
Well, and this goes both ways, right? I have some clients who are the main breadwinner and are going to be paying alimony. Spousal maintenance is what it's called in Colorado. And so, they're trying to consider, do I offer a lump sum payment or do I offer monthly? I'm not sure about this job long term, so I don't want to commit to a lump sum payment if I'm not clear that I'm always going to be earning this level. Or, what are the flexible variables that we're thinking of, right? I'm feeling some insecurity in my job, or whatever it looks like, right? From that perspective. And then from the perspective of the recipient of spousal maintenance, oftentimes I hear from my clients that despite the court orders requiring them, as soon as you file, change nothing about your finances and your income. Often people will tell me, my ex-husband quit his job.
Yeah.
So now he's claiming zero income. And so that is affecting child, alimony payments long-term.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that story. I just finished working with a woman down in, I think she was in New Jersey, 4 kids. Divorce was final.
Yep.
Month 1, got child support and spousal support. Month 2, neither. Her ex-husband quit his job and moved in with his mother. So she's really in a, so anyway, there's all those facts, and then there's kind of the hard numbers too. So this is where modeling comes in.
Yeah.
Here a good modeler, which again could be your CDFA or anybody on that team, should be looking at, okay, how will that portfolio perform at different rates, 4%, 6%, 8%, and how long will it last? And then on this side, we model this fixed amount against rising costs, and you can answer the question with the math as well as with the emotion. And so many times, this particular client that I worked with used this entire analysis to go back and get more money up front. That's what she did. So it was really powerful because this was actually better for her. Behind the scenes, it was actually better for her to take the money every month, but she didn't trust that it would come in. So she negotiated, I think she got up to $460 up front. So you can see the power of the math here. Okay, so where to find that personal modeling? It's because if you're good with Excel, great. This is where I do extend a slight amount of caution that one of the challenges of chat is that if you don't give it the information, it won't give you back the right information, and you may not even know what to ask about. So if you get into more sophisticated modeling, again, if you're great with Excel, do it and do it yourself and own it. And if not, there's lots of places out here. And again, this is in our follow-up kit. There's fee-only and advice-only financial planners. I personally really like these folks because some financial planners earn their living by taking your assets under management. And,
yes.
There's great people out there, so there's no diminishment of that. But their focus is on, what should I do with your assets? What mutual fund should I put it in, or what stocks, or how should I balance your bonds versus your money market, et cetera. They're not great at this financial what-if planning. But
yeah, they just want you to put it all in the market so that they make money off of your investments.
Well, okay, yes, that is true. That is true. So we've worked with some great ones over the years, but their primary focus is the assets. So you want to find somebody whose primary focus is the planning. So you could search on these. You can find divorce financial specialists. CDFAs that's very well respected discipline. Find somebody that can do that.
Aren't you a CDFA, Connie?
I am. I'm CDFA trained. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, I was a financial analyst for 30 years in my with my business hat on. You can go to retirement, your employer retirement plan. Sometimes they can do it for you. There's lots of resources out there. And so, maybe get started yourself, but on these big decisions, the house, retirement, taking a lump sum versus a monthly payment. If that was, let's say that analysis was, $2,000, it saved that woman so much more money over time. So sometimes there's an investment that you need to make.
That calculation you showed us, the $300,000 shortfall, taking it back, that was mind-boggling.
Then you might not know that. Like, oh, my expenses are $4,500. Her expenses, I think, were, I want to say they were maybe around $5,000 or $5,400 a month. So she's kind of like, oh, that's a $900 gap. Not by year 8. It's a much bigger gap by year 8, because as we all painfully know right now, inflation is real.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just say, as a wrap up here, when you see your numbers, you can trust your decisions. And that's the bottom line. When you can't see them, you're feeling around in the dark. And these decisions are too big to do that, to be in the dark. And so here's a link to our financial reset kit. It has all the prompts. It has the links to everything we've talked about. A link to, if you want to schedule your cash flow companion call. So I'm going to pull up there, Kat, because I don't like these to be too overwhelming. Those are the 3 things that are most important. Know your numbers, know where the money is, know your 2 numbers, and then give yourself the freedom to start asking those important what if questions.
Connie, this was so helpful. And I know Elle just put the link to this workbook, the kit that you've been referencing and everything you went through, in the chat. And for those watching the recording on YouTube, the link to this kit that Connie has prepared is in the comments below the videos. So definitely check that out. This is, so huge and empowering, and
good. Wonderful.
Just to be able to see how impactful the 2 different paths are, like you've been talking about, is huge. I know that we're going to have some questions. I just have a quick question for you. Are there any tools that you recommend people use to get a clearer picture of their finances, like outside of, for example, ChatGPT? So like one that I just heard of recently is Rocket Money. You can see if you are subscribed to you have any current subscriptions you didn't know about that are charging.
Oh, that's a good one. And by the way, so I like, along those lines, because those little, $4, $8, and now Netflix just went up to $29. And I remember when it was $8 when we started, it's $29 a month. So what I really love is a tool along the lines of a Simplify. Have you used that, Kat?
No.
It's super. It takes some setup. You have to link your bank accounts, but then it pulls everything together, and it allows you to download your transactions every month, and it categorizes them for you. And you can suddenly look and see, like, wait a second, what is this? What is this 4 months in a row of X? And sometimes, as we all know, you sign up for something, not even really realizing that you're signing up for a recurring.
Yep.
So I highly recommend that you also start there. Just get all of your accounts into Simplify, and then Simplify is very easy. It can run reports for you. It flags things for you. So that's a great one. And then there's great calculators out there, like calculator.net.
Okay.
Calculator.net. You can put in your mortgage details, and it will show you your amortization table. And if you're considering a refinance, you say, okay, I'm at, whatever percent now, the interest rates are dropping a little bit, I'm going to refinance, but it will show you how much money you're going to spend over time, not just that lowered monthly payment. So there's lots of good calculators out there. That's so fabulous. I recommend that any one of them can be helpful.
That's huge. Thank you so much. Okay, we do have a question. Do we pay for ChatGPT or use the free version? Any concerns with privacy? I pay for ChatGPT because I use it both in my work and my personal life for so many different things. And I used to use the free version, and I found like, so long as you keep the chat open and you don't close it, it will learn based on the conversation you're currently having. ChatGPT is not secure at all. I mean, it's very
It's definitely not.
gathering information on everything that you're doing.
Yeah, I could not state that better. As a business owner, I pay for the privacy umbrella because, I have my ideas. I don't want somebody else to be able to come and nab my ideas. And I think that the sort of consumer version is not super expensive. What I might do is just go ahead and try it in the sea of, of everything that's being poured into chat. If you put in your details, you're probably okay. But if you start to really engage with it on deeper into your finances, I'd get the paid version.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then when you're working with someone, Connie, beside, the should I keep the house or sell the house? Can I afford to buy him out? Should I take monthly payments of spousal maintenance versus a lump sum? Are there any other big questions that you get, or do we have any questions from any of the audience? These are the big burning questions that I have. What should I do? So besides these two, what are the other big questions?
Yeah. Okay. So the other big ones are, when should I retire, and which should I, if I take retirement at 62 versus 65 versus 70, is it 65? No, I'm sorry, 67, 62 versus 67, or 66 and 10 months, and 70.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the amount that you get at each clip is a little higher, but you have to wait to get it. So depending on your, so there's so many factors there. So that's when we do a lot, is to help people figure out their retirement. If people have investment properties, they want to either buy or sell an investment property is a common one. And then one that has just started popping up, your audience might be a little younger for this, but is whether or not to take a reverse mortgage. So that's a mortgage technique that's for people in their 60s. So I do a fair number of those. And then just all kinds of life questions. I had a couple that I just worked with. They are both, the woman is in a highly paid job. The husband is in a nice job but a sort of lower. They have young kids. They are stressed out. So I just worked through their whole plan to see if the husband could stay home and be a stay-at-home dad. Mm-hmm. And I just got a call from them that said he's quitting his job. So, it's everything under the sun, and they would have not been able to get to that without an in-depth analysis.
That's a great example. And we just had another question come through. What are your thoughts on using a financial advisor or not? I haven't had great experiences, but I want to ensure my dollars are invested wisely. What should I expect of my financial advisor? Okay,
that is such a good one. That is another analysis that I do, which is, okay, the financial planners are highly skilled, highly trained. The reputable ones are fantastic. So there's some really good ones out there. The problem that I've always had with financial planners is the fee you're not writing a check for that fee every month. It's just coming out of your account, buried in there. You don't really see how much you're paying. When you don't see how much you're paying, you're not conscious of whether or not you're getting the value for that payment. So I do an analysis that shows how much you're going to actually spend on financial management fees over time. And it's a gobsmacker of how much of our net worth can drift away to those financial planning fees. Now, if they're overperforming the market, awesome. If they paid for themselves, awesome. If they're just performing at the market, why did you pay that fee?
Yeah.
And those are the numbers that you need to know. And your financial planner, again, I've had some great ones, and I know some highly, highly skilled and high integrity financial planners. But you have to be proactive. You have to ask those questions. Yeah, and you can negotiate your fees, because the fees are just outrageous. It sounds like it's a small amount, 0.75%, let's say, or 1%. Let's just do this math really quickly.
Okay.
A 1% management fee sounds, in a way, you're like 1%. But if you get a 5% return on your finances, 1% of the 5% is actually sorry, 1% of your 100% is 20% of the 5%. So
Yeah.
if you get a 5% return, that was a little clumsy, my apologies, but if you
No,
get
no,
a
no. I
5%
followed.
return, you are paying 20% of your return to your financial planner. And again, I don't object to that if your financial planner is earning it. I do object to it if they're not earning it. And so that's where you got to be an advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Well, and then how would you invest? You would have to manage your own investments that way.
Yes. Okay. So yes, you do. There are lots of things out there. Really, investing is not as hard as it sounds. Get a couple of Vanguard accounts.
Mhm.
Vanguard is, I have no affiliation with them. So I'm just saying, go to Schwab, go to Vanguard, put your money in some good, broad-based accounts and let it go. Go and visit with them once a year and rebalance. It's really not as hard as it's made out to be. That's my opinion. And that's what I do for myself, by the way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That Vanguard is there and Schwab is there. Schwab started as a retail investor. Vanguard has broad-based, successful mutual funds. You don't pay huge loads. And when you look at what you could be paying a financial planner, now I'm saying this, I have to say this carefully. I'm not a financial planner and I can't really give this advice. So I have to actually be careful here, but there's ways to do it if you educate yourself kind of lightly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the really popular phrase right now? The maths aren't mathing. I mean, I think if you look at the math of understanding it the way you explained it, like I'm paying 20% of my portfolio to someone who's very likely not doing that much work at all. So,
well, you can see the other thing that I've done for myself, when I decided that I was going to begin managing my own portfolio, I downloaded all the transactions and you can see what they're doing. And I downloaded it for, you can see that there's a little shift of money from here to here. There's a little shift of money from here back to here. It just didn't look like it was that overwhelming. And so I've been personally happy with the decision, but anyway.
That's a good perspective. Thank you. And we'll just take that as like layman advice.
Layman advice, ladies and gentlemen. That's right.
Wonderful. Well, let's see. One more question. It's figuring out real estate to keep the house and what is the opportunity cost if I do not keep it? Yeah, that's really tricky. And it sounds like that's the number one question that Connie deals with.
I want to say one more quick thing there, Kat. I'm respectful of everybody's time here, but another very common analysis that we do is called walkaway dollars. Because, let's think back to the network that we showed above. You might have your home equity might be, I don't know, let's say $400,000. And you might mentally think, oh, I have $400,000. But you cannot turn your home equity into cash at the same amount because that $400,000 will have brokerage fees, closing costs, and potentially capital gains. So another analysis that is extremely useful is if I sell my house, what will I actually walk away with? And so we do a walkaway dollars because that's what you have to go and buy your next house or use your investments or go back to school or whatever, pay for your college, your kids' college, whatever it is. It's not the 100, it's something south of that.
That's a really good, you don't know what you don't know. You're not thinking about all the hidden costs that go into it.
Right.
And then another thing too that people can do just on the real estate side, and we are going to have a CDRE, a certified divorce real estate expert, coming on in a few months, but you can negotiate your rate with them, the closing costs and the rate and things like that. You can ask them to cover some of the costs. And so, there's always room for negotiation. People don't always realize that, you can negotiate your fee, like you were saying with your financial planner, you can negotiate the fees with your real estate agent. And that's just not something people often do. But remember, you can always ask, and the worst they can do is say no. And so it always benefits you to at least try to haggle. So that's really helpful. Yeah, Connie, I just thank you so much for your time today. Just so valuable. You and I talked on Monday, and I even learned so much more today. So thank you. We can't thank you enough. This has been
You're
huge.
very welcome. Totally a pleasure. So enjoy your afternoon, Kat, and thank you for having me. Very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And to everybody watching, remember that all the links went into the chat. You can also, if you're watching this on YouTube later, all the links that were provided in the chat today are going to be in the comments, the commentary. What am I trying to say? The description of the YouTube video. And so those will all be there. Connie, is there a deadline on your free consult call or?
At any time, because sometimes people need to sit with financial decisions. I completely understand that. So, but anybody that wants it, I'd be happy to again link arms and be your companion.
Thank you. What a generous offer. So there's that. I just want to give everybody a heads up that the next Lunch and Learn events are February 11th and 25th. We're going to hear from an attorney and a health and wellness coach with ideas about how to eat to reduce inflammation and toxic stress levels in your body. If you are experiencing and navigating a high conflict divorce, simple food choices can really regulate your body and your nervous system. So we'll hear from them. And keep an eye out if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet to get the dates about those. I did want to remind everyone that myself and 2 other coaches are hosting a retreat April 24th through 27th in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Colorado. This is for women only. And we are hosting a virtual meet and greet on this Saturday. And so I will put the information that's all over my website, and it's in my emails as well. If you have questions about that, please feel free to email me back to the confirmation email or reach out to me via the website, peacefulpresencedivorcecoaching.com. Also, riseandreleasedivorceretreat.com is the website. We would love to host you there. It's going to be a fantastic event, and we are offering a scholarship, so reach out if you have more information about that. Thank you, everyone, all attendees. Again, Connie, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you at the next Lunch and Learn.
Thank you very much.